All right, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Just Dylan here today, and we're going to be going over all the games like usual. But also, if you're watching here on YouTube, you can see we have DraftKings up. So usually when I'm alone, I'm going to build a DraftKings lineup just to kind of fill some time. And DraftKings is actually doing three kind of promotional offers here for Thanksgiving, and we're going to make a lineup for each of these here. So the first one is the Thanksgiving Day Millionaire. If you enter two or more lineups into this, it's $20. You get $10 back. So essentially, you're spending 40 to get back 10. Net of $30 here. The other one is Showdown. Showdown matchups for both games, the Giants and Cowboys, and the Patriots and the Vikings. So if your captain scores the first touchdown of the game, you get a share of $50,000, even if your lineup doesn't cash. So that's kind of nice. For the Patriots and Vikings game, the last game on Thanksgiving, you'll get a share of $100,000 if your captain is the highest scoring player of the game. So little nuances here to those showdown lineups, because not only are you trying to do well in terms of your lineup in general, but your captain, of course, is going to be important. But even if you have the highest scoring captain, the rest of your lineup could suck for like the Patriots and Vikings showdown. But if you still have that highest scoring captain, you're going to get a chunk of this $100,000. And it sounds like a lot of money, but I've hit on some of these before, and you end up getting like $3 or something like that, because a lot of people can hit this. Now, if it's very contrarian and you get a player that no one else has, it's a bigger payout. So that I haven't looked really, and I haven't made these lineups in advance, but in my mind, in order to kind of get a chunk of these pools that are actually worth it, you got to go kind of against the grain here. Because, if everyone picks, let's say for the Giants and Cowboys game, everyone picks Barkley for their captain because they think he's going to score the first touchdown of the game. Great. You win a few bucks off of that, and that is not worth it at all. But if you pick someone like, oh boy, I don't know, maybe Slayton, maybe, Wandale's out, so maybe like one of the wide receivers or a tight end for New York, someone that isn't expected. Now, the downside of that, your overall lineup might suck. So it really, really depends on how you want to play it. If you want to take that risk for a larger chunk of this payout, go for it. If you want to just play this like normal and kind of ignore that, you can do that as well. Barkley, I would imagine, is going to be the highest owned captain here. So we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and make the first lineup here for the Thanksgiving Day Millionaire. All right, so you get the pick from all three games here, so only 6 teams to choose from. Much smaller slate, especially for a tournament-style lineup. You can expect to see, percentages up in the 40s, and it might even look like kind of cash lineup percentages here. So it's difficult in these smaller game pools to pick players that are going to be kind of lower rostered. The fantasy footballers have a nice thing on their DFS projections for GPP on their website. That's what I'm going to be using, and they you can already see very high ownership. Ramondre Stevenson projected at 50% in a tournament. That's just absurd. So you have to get weird on these smaller slates. With that said, I always like to start with my stack. Josh Allen, not really looking to pick him because everyone's looking to pick him. So that isn't really worth it in my mind. If I'm looking at these guys, I don't include Goff. I don't include Jones. I don't think they're worth it, even though they're lower. I'm sorry. I don't. Oh, there's 2 Jones. I should specify. I don't prefer Mac Jones. Daniel Jones, I'm actually pretty interested in. So you can go Daniel Jones, Kirk, Dak. I think picking from those 3 is how you want to go. And then, of course, if you pick from one of those 3, you have to stack them. So let's kind of run through each one of these guys. Dak, probably the next best play here on the slate. If you're fading Josh Allen, he's expected the second highest amount of points, and he is much cheaper, only $6,200. And then you got a lot of stacking options. You can stack with Lamb, you can stack with Schultz, so you get options there. With Kirk has a tougher defense to play against here with New England, but he also has Justin Jefferson, who is, an anomaly. You could also throw a couple picks that kind of screws him there. And he does not really rush the ball, so that kind of ruins his upside. So he's kind of middle tier there. He's probably third out of these guys that I want. And then Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones definitely has a difficult opponent with Dallas here. 17.1 projected points, only $5,500, 11.1% projected ownership. However, with Daniel Jones, you get the upside of rushing, and that's something he's been very good at this season. And that's also a way to kind of get leverage off of the people playing Saquon. So if people are playing Saquon, maybe they are stacking him with Daniel Jones. But in at least recent games, there isn't a lot of correlation between those two when you're stacking them. So if you get Daniel Jones, maybe you go for a Slayton. That might be a contrarian move there, and you get leverage off of Saquon. So I personally am leaning Daniel Jones or Dak at the moment. I think let's start building something out. Let's start with Dak and see what we can do. So if we go Dak, we're gonna stack him with Lamb, and hell, we'll probably double stack him here with Schultz as well. Checking out roster percentages for those guys. Lamb, second highest projected ownership, 42.9%. Tight end, 41.7% for Schultz. So this is probably a very popular stack. It might be a little off because I'm doing the double stack instead of the skinny stack. So who knows? Maybe we don't go there. If we went the Daniel Jones route. So let's pop him in here. Daniel Jones, where are you at, buddy? Daniel Jones. Stack him with Slayton. Only $5,000 there. So that's really good actually for in terms of salary per player remaining. We're in a pretty decent spot here getting these cheaper guys. So maybe we can spend up elsewhere. What else we want to do here? So if we get Daniel Jones, I think I'm going to fade Barkley here. He had an off game last week. He might have an off game this week, honestly. Dallas did pretty well at shutting down Dalvin Cook. Very possible that the same thing happens here with Barkley. So maybe we can stay away from him, especially since fourth highest projected ownership. Pollard up there as well. Zeke is an interesting play. Pollard obviously has been getting it done. That's why he's so popular here. Zeke is actually cheaper, and he is lower owned. But who knows? He could have a really good game, jump inside that Salvation Army pot again. That's just kind of his thing. So maybe that's a way to gain leverage and fade Tony. And that you can also kind of use him as a bring back stack here if we're going the Daniel Jones route. So weird things happen in these games. So let's give that a go. Let's pop Zeke in here. So let's take a look actually at his game log. He still had 15 attempts last week. 1 reception, 42 yards. That was his first game back off the injury. He still got 17 fantasy points. So I'm willing in a tournament style, small slate, pop Zeke in there as the bring back stack. Because people are, rightfully so, actually, people are afraid of Zeke. But when you're playing these tournament styles, you kind of have to go for it. It's not like a fantasy football home league matchup where you have you have other options. But it's not like a fantasy home league matchup where you can kind of, for the most part, play it, quote unquote, safe. If you want to win a tournament, you have to take these risks, get these low-owned guys in here. Otherwise, it's nice to win anything in general. Profit is profit. You'll never hear me complain about that. But if you want to hit the big prizes, you got to get weird. And I think Zeke is kind of getting weird here. So what else can we do? Who's the highest scoring game on this slate? I would imagine, yeah. So it's Buffalo, Detroit, 54 projected points. Buffalo is projected to have 31.8 of them, which is quite a lot. We probably want to get some pieces in that one. So who can we get out of there? I immediately see Singletary. He's been getting some touchdowns. If we can afford him, Stephon Diggs might be solid. Where is he? He is the highest one. That makes sense because they're going to be stacking him with Josh Allen. So maybe we take someone else. Maybe we do a Gabe Davis. Maybe a Isaiah McKenzie might actually be interesting. If we take a look at him, Isaiah McKenzie, game log, he's not even really getting targeted. Okay, that might not be super worth it. What about Gabe? 7 targets, that's solid, 68 yards. A game that is expected to be an absolute blowout. I like Gabe Davis here. He's cheap, $5,300. A little lower ownership, not super low, 38.8, but still you get leverage off the people who are playing Diggs, because if Gabe is getting the points, Diggs isn't, unless Diggs is throwing him the ball. So that's kind of yet another leverage play we can get going here. Let's pop a defense in just to see what we have remaining per player. Cowboys is the easy move and probably the best move, but everyone's going to do that. What? 70%? No? What? 20%? Okay, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, apparently. Either way, defenses are so random that I just don't want to spend up on them, so I won't. Also, I wouldn't play the Cowboys because we're doing a giant stack. Buffalo makes sense, but they're pretty pricey. Maybe we can bump up to them later if we have the remaining salary. You could be weird with Detroit. New England's a decent play, but they're expected to be very highly owned. How'd they do? 11, 10, 11. They've been getting on it. Screw it. Let's get, like I said, we got to get weird. So throw the Lions in there, only $2,100. We can regain probably what we lose here in opportunity cost by picking a better player. So let's pop the Lions in there. And then let's check out tight end. Hawkinson, most expensive guy here. I would imagine everyone's playing Schultz. We already kind of got our bring back here. Dawson Knox might not be a bad play. Gets us another piece in that Buffalo game, but we already got Gabe, so not super about that. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, that's probably as far down you can go here in tight end. There is not a lot of choices here. I like Hawkinson. New England's a good defense, but it looks like they are giving up some points to the tight end position. 9 targets. 10, 9. Let's go Hawkinson. He's probably decently high on. Third, people will go Knox and Schultz over him. Yeah, there's some money there. But hey, we spent down on the Lions. Let's spend up on the tight end. And then we have $7,100 remaining per player. That's great. So let's see what we can do. Can we get Justin Jefferson? Do we want Justin Jefferson? That's another question that we need to ask. He had an off game, good defense. New England is also a pretty good defense, not as good as Dallas, but still pretty good. Amon-Ra, 6,600. He's been doing some work. 8 targets, 11, 9. Price is good. He's probably high owned. 3. Third highest projected ownership. Justin Jefferson down there at 5th. Who can we get weird with? We got Slayton in there already, so that's pretty weird. How did DJ Chark do on his way back? Chark, 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 Chark. One target. Not great. He's not on the injury list, so that's good. I don't think it's. I don't think I can do that one. Let's get another piece in the Detroit Buffalo game with. Oh wait, shit, crap. All right, we're playing Gabe against the Lions defense. We don't want to do it. This is so difficult with a small slate. So this is really annoying trying to pick these guys here. So boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so who am I not playing? I'm not going to play any Patriots, I don't believe. So Minnesota defense. Let's try that. It's $1,000 more. Damn. That's okay. That's okay. Let's see what we can do. So we pop in the Vikings defense, pop in St. Brown. $6,850 remaining for a running back and a flex. That's not terrible. Let's see what we can do with it. Do we want another piece in the Buffalo-Detroit game? Jamal Williams is a piece I am staring at here. He feels very much like a Tony Pollard as a guy who's technically the backup, but it's hard to view him in that light when he's getting so much work. Check out some roster percentage. He's pretty down there, 17.9%. Okay, let's go. Let's go. If they're on the goal line, they're giving it to Jamal. I'm about it. Yep, it put him in the flex. I don't want him in the flex. Running back. Jamal. Now we can pick a flex. $7,800 remaining. We can go Dalvin. Again, New England defense pretty solid. I don't think I really want to do that. Maybe we get another bring back with CD. That's something we can do. Ramondre Stevenson. I already said I don't think I'm going to take any Patriots. Devin Singletary. He's probably super popular. Second most popular. He's been getting touchdowns. 18 attempts, 86 yards, a touchdown. 3 in his last 2 games. Hard to deny that. What's Harris been doing? I know I said I don't want to play any Patriots. I just got to look, though. It's not awful. And then you get that leverage off of Ramondre, who's going to be very highly owned. I usually like putting a wide receiver here in the flex, but again, it is a very short slate. It's a little difficult. I like Lamb. Get another bring back. I got 45 yards here. They didn't need to use them. Is this going to be a more competitive game than the Minnesota game? I don't think so. So I don't think they're really going to need to pass that much, which is why I like Zeke and Pollard a bit more. I'll stick with that, I guess. Oh boy. Singletary keeps... All roads are leading to Singletary here. We got a lot of money remaining then if we do that. And if for these shorter slates, you can, I always say spend all of your money if you can. It's a little difficult in these shorter ones. So you can leave a little bit more on the table just to be more strange with the roster percentage. So, all right, let's do Singletary at $2,100 remaining. I don't want the Cowboys defense because we're doing the New York stack. I don't want the Bills defense because I have a couple Detroit guys in there. New England. Do I want the New England or the Vikings defense? You probably want the team that you think is going to win, and I think Minnesota will win. So I'll stick with them. But let's take a look at the game log. That's a good defense. 9, 26, 17 in their last 3. What has Minnesota been doing? Not 50. They're not terrible. They just had a real bad game against Dallas. -4 points here. But they got 15 against Buffalo. New England's not a better offense than Buffalo by any, but not at all. Okay, so we got $2,100. What the hell do we do with it? All right, everyone, figured it out. I paused the recording there to kind of piece this together, but I think I got it down. So what I did was I ended up upgrading from Gabe Davis to Stephon Diggs. Now, yes, he's the highest projected owned player here on the slate. And instead, to kind of offset that, I got rid of Hawkinson and put in a Kager? I don't know how to say that. Just to stack him with Daniel Jones here. We're basically punting here at the tight end position. He's been getting the most snaps here for the tight ends for the Giants. Don't expect big things out of him. He's probably not owned at all. 7.5% basically. So yeah, we're just going with that guy. Really just getting a stack here, punting at the position. And if you're punting, you might as well just get a stack. I then upgraded Singletary for Dalvin Cook. So now the lineup is a stack with Daniel Jones, Darius Slayton, and Kager. Running backs, Zeke and Jamal Williams, and Dalvin Cook in the flex. Wide receivers, said Slayton. Upgraded for Stephon Diggs and bringing it back there with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we're getting pieces all over here. You get the early games with the Buffalo-Detroit matchups. If those don't go well, take advantage of these late swaps. DraftKings lets you do that. So you can swap in some players. If you're behind, take a home run swing at some random player. But that is going to be our first entry here for this football millionaire. Congratulations. I'm in. Thank you. Going back to the promos, let's go back and we are going to do the Giants-Cowboy showdown. And remember, for this one, we want our captain to be someone who scores the first touchdown. That's a good point here. I don't know if... Are we talking about a passing touchdown? Could it be Dak? Win a share if your captain scores the first touchdown. I'm going to assume they're talking about a rushing or receiving touchdown. They are not going to be talking about a passing touchdown. That doesn't really make sense on their part if they were to do it that way. So who's going to score a touchdown? Barkley's a good bet. Pollard's a good bet. I think Zeke's even a good bet. Lamb, has he been scoring? I don't really know if he's been scoring. I guess he has 3, not as much as Pollard, but I would imagine everybody gonna take Pollard. Zeke, has he been being used on the goal line? Yes, look at all those. So maybe that's what we do. I like this a lot. So healthy Zeke, Thursday football, Thanksgiving football, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown in the last 3 games he has played. Still seems to be the running back guy. I'm sorry, the red zone guy, goal line guy. That's what we care about here. And I am assuming he's going to be faded a bit here. People, they really think Tony Pollard is the dude. Very well, maybe. Jerry Jones doesn't see it that way. But this is a good middle ground where we get a solid captain and then we get a solid maybe a lower owned captain that has a good chance of scoring the first touchdown to get a chunk of that $50,000. So let's pop him in here. So we got Zeke. We then want to do a stack here with, well, everyone's probably going Dallas. If everyone's going Dallas, I know I just did this for the millionaire thing, but let's return to the Giants because everyone's going to be on Dallas. So Daniel Jones, Slayton, where you at? Slayton. Still only want to do one side of running backs. So let's throw in Lamb as well as a bring back. We got 5,400 remaining per position. Cowboys defense. I don't really want to do a defense here. Just because as your opposing players score, the defense points goes down. So it kind of middles out and it's not great. So maybe a kicker. Brett Meyer has been doing 4 for 4. Good for him. Wasn't needed then. Are they home? They're always home on Thanksgiving. What am I talking about? Yeah, maybe we throw a kicker in here just to get some extra points cheaply. So we'll throw in Brett Meyer. 6,800 left. Ooh, that's looking like a Michael Gallup. How can we get up to Schultz? $400 is what we need. Michael Gallup, 4 targets. The auxiliary pieces really don't do much in Dallas. All right, let me throw in Schultz. I'm missing $200. How do I get that $200? What if we didn't do Brett? And oh, there we go. Graham Gano. Perfect. that works out. Again, between the two kickers, I really don't have a preference. But we're going with Zeke for our captain here. Probably lower owned. Good touchdown potential. And if he gets the first touchdown, we get a chunk of that $50,000. And given that we're assuming he's going to be lower owned, that's going to be a bigger chunk for us if he gets it. Going to do the New York stack with Jones and Slayton. Bring it back with Lamb and Schultz. And then Graham Gano just kind of filling in a roster spot here. All right, back to the promo for the last lineup here. So for this one, it is another showdown lineup, Patriots versus Vikings. If your captain is the highest scoring player of the game, you get 100. Oh, it'd be nice if you get $100,000. You get a chunk, a share of $100,000. So let's get in here. Who's likely to be the highest scoring of the game? A quarterback is usually a safer bet, but I'm not sure so much with these two teams. Mac Jones probably is not going to be the highest scoring, and neither is Kirk. So who could have the potential of being the highest scoring? Justin Jefferson, that makes sense. Cook, that makes sense. Ramondre, that makes sense. However, all three of those guys would probably be very highly owned. So here, I'm not as confident as I was with the Zeke captain. That one kind of stuck out to me immediately. With this one, it's a little more difficult because I think whoever the highest scoring player is going to be, he's going to be a very highly owned captain. So what that means is if everyone has the highest owned captain and he has the highest amount of points, that share you get of the $100,000 is not going to nearly be worth it. So what do? I'm thinking I just focus on my lineup and try to cash this lineup instead of going for a chunk of that $100,000. It doesn't really seem worth it in my spot because here's another possibility of what can happen. And we want to play the flip side. So let's say highest probability of getting the highest amount of points. I'm going to say Jefferson or Ramondre. it's probably going to be one of them. I'll stick with Justin Jefferson just because salary generally correlates with fantasy points here. So if it's Justin Jefferson, everyone picks Justin Jefferson to put in their captain spot. That means they get 1.5 more points and 1.5 times the salary. So he's very expensive. $17,400 to put Justin Jefferson as your captain. $6,520 is what you have remaining per player. Sounds like a lot, but that amount can come down very quickly as you plop in these guys. So what can happen is if the people who are spending up on the captain, they don't have a lot to spend at the remaining pieces. So even though they might get their captain as the highest scoring player and they get that chunk of $100,000, their full lineup might suck. And it might not even cash because they haven't been able to get the sum of points to be enough for their lineups to cash. So let's shoot for someone else here as a captain. I'm surprised Kirk is the second highest priced. Ramondre is going to be a popular captain. Let's see here. Usually you want to pick the team that you think is going to win to have more players of. And I think the Vikings are going to be that team. Hawkinson might be an interesting one here. I doubt anyone's putting a tight end as a captain. And, maybe that's for good reason. But if we put him there, we'd have a decent amount of money to spend elsewhere. So let's give that a try. What if we do... He's not the main pass catcher. That's so difficult to put a tight end there. Man, and I was just kind of shitting on all of these players here at the top, but it's almost like you have to. Justin Jefferson seems too expensive for me. Dalvin is a way to get leverage off of Jefferson. Ramondre, I think, is going to be the most popular just because he is cheaper and he has a really good shot of putting up a lot of points. So, Dalvin might be the move, even though they are a really good defense against the run. Let's pop Dalvin in here and see what happens for the moment. Let's go Dalvin as our captain. Probably got to put Kirk in there. And then it starts to get dicey. You can see how quickly that average salary per player comes down as you add. We just added 2 guys, and it's already down to $6,200 because everyone's over that average amount. Let's see here. KJ Osborne, have you been doing anything? No. Boy. Nelson Aguilar, have you been doing anything? No. This is going to be very dicey. Do I put a defense in here? It's probably a lower scoring game. Let's see here. Reports. Game line. 42.5 over under. 22.5 expected for Minnesota. 20 for the Patriots. So lower scoring game. Who's going to have more turnovers, Kirk or Jones? I want to say Kirk. Man, it is very difficult to find pieces to spend here. I think I'll go Hawkinson. He's a little cheaper. And that gets a stack with Kirk. On the other end, Jacoby has been decent. Maybe throwing in the backup running back, Damian Harris, gets that leverage as well. He's getting some attempts, obviously not nearly as effective as Ramondre. But if something happens to Ramondre, you take that spot and you can boost your way up there. So throwing him in for the time being just to see what we can do here. Down to $5,400 per player. That's not great. Parker, no. Kickers. Greg Greg isn't making a lot of kicks here. Nick Folk. Screw it. Let's go, Nick. Put you in there. $6,800 remaining now. All the backup quarterbacks. I'm not taking a backup quarterback. I need another $200 in order to get Thielen. Ugh. This one's gross. This one is very gross. This is difficult to do. Do I come down off of Dalvin? And do I take the popular play of Ramondre in order to spend up elsewhere? Is it really that big of a difference in salary? I would have an additional $600, which would put me at $7,400. It would basically be the same. I would just be about able to get Adam Thielen. So that's not really what I want here. If you take a defense, I usually like going 5 on one side and then the 1 being on the defense. But I don't know if I can play 5 Minnesota players. That doesn't seem really possible here at the moment. Everyone's so expensive. It's like you have to take a punt, and I don't even know who the punt would be. No one's getting points. Ooh, Tyquan Thornton. Is he even playing? Barely. 17 of 63 snaps. That's awful. He went hard like his first game, and now it's just been nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hunter Henry, they're just not targeting their tight ends at all. Yeah, that's not worth it. Man, I don't know what to do. This is a tough one. Can we flip it? I don't even want the New England stack because I don't like any of their wide receivers really. Like if we look at Jacoby, he's doing okay, 9.2, 8.4. He had a good game against the Jets with 21, but it's just not there. So what if we did Thielen, and then instead of Folk, we could go Greg Joseph, possibly. Yikes. Nelson Aguilar, Johnny Smith. No, I don't want any of those guys. The defenses are worth more. All right, let's pop in Greg. Then we have a 5-1 Minnesota New England ratio. That isn't terrible. You're getting the stack here for Kirk. It's not going to be a high-scoring game, so I don't really expect a ton of points for any of these guys. And then maybe it just becomes a running match between Dalvin and Ramondre. In which case, that I like Dalvin. So you got to kind of predict the game script here. It's a little difficult, but I think Minnesota maintains control of this game. It's going to be low scoring. I just got to click the button. I just got to enter it. This feels like the best we can do. I've been looking at it for a bit. I paused the recording to see if there was anything better I can do. And I couldn't find anything. If you guys can find something better, let me know. But I think a good point that was made here was the difficulty I had finding pieces to put in here with Dalvin Cook as my captain at $15,000. The people who are forcing Jefferson in there at what, $2,400 more? Yeah, $2,400 more. Think of the time they're going to have. That doesn't sound great. So I think there's a decent chance that this lineup cashes. But even with Dalvin in there, he definitely has a shot at being the highest scoring player. I think it's lower probability than the other folks like Jefferson and Ramondre, but who cares if those guys get the highest amount of points and everyone had them? You get an extra buck or two. Who gives a shit? I'm here for it all. So I'm going to lock in this line up here, and let's get out of here for this video. Entered. There we go. We'll see what happens. But thank you for watching this. And, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy the games. There's some pretty solid matchups here. Best of luck in your fantasy matchups. Playoffs are coming very soon, I'm sure. This is our last week for trades. So, get it in, and then waivers become way more important. So pay attention to that. And best of luck on DraftKings. And we will see you later. Bye-bye.